everybody, Cher here with you. Welcome to my channel. So today I have something really exciting that I'd like to share with you. A company called Cosori actually recently reached out to me asking me if I would be interested in receiving one of their pressure cookers to try out, in return reviewing it on my channel. So of course I jumped at the opportunity. I thought, wow, that is really cool. So I'm going to do my little review today. I'm going to share a recipe with you as well. I've had it for a little over 2 weeks now. I've made a few different dishes in it, and I must say I am very impressed with it. It's kind of funny, the timing of this, because I was totally thinking that I was going to put one of these pressure cookers on my Christmas wish list this year. So the timing of this couldn't have been any better. So thank you so much, Cosori, for sending this out to me. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is basically what comes with the Cosori pressure cooker, and so I'm going to share those things with you right now. So here's an overview of everything that's included in the box when you receive it. So I'll just bring you a little closer here. Mine happens to be the 6-quart pressure cooker. I believe there's an 8-quart one as well. So of course you get your pressure cooker. This is the most important part right here, and we'll go over everything that it can do here in a moment. It also comes with a glass lid. You've got your pressure lid here, which is already equipped with a sealer ring, and they also send you an extra one of those as well, which is a great feature. Apparently, if you buy an Instapot, they do not come with an extra ring, and they do not come with this glass lid either. So the fact that Cosori includes that with the price of their pressure cookers, I think that's amazing, and apparently the prices are very similar from what I've heard. The other thing that they also send along with it is these 2 little spoons and a little rice cup. It's got all the little measures here for you, so that's kind of a foolproof way of making rice and measuring. And you also get this little steamer. So they send along these 3 little pamphlets here. The first one is a bonus year warranty. All you have to do is just follow the instructions, very clearly labeled here. Basically, you want to do it within 14 days of your purchase, and that gives you the website, and then yeah, you just follow the instructions there to get your bonus year warranty. And the next thing, of course, they send you a nice recipe book, and basically there's a recipe or 2 for every setting that comes on the Cosori pot, which we're going to go over that here shortly. But this thing is amazing. It can do a lot of different things. So there's a lot of great recipes. Of course, there's pictures, and it tells you exactly how to go about doing everything. So I thought that was great to kind of get you started. And then of course your instruction manual, and this is probably the most important part of the whole thing. I definitely recommend that you read over the instructions, and they're very easy to follow. There's little pictures and stuff too. It probably wouldn't even hurt, especially the most important things like about the depressurization and all that kind of stuff. I think you probably read that over twice, and I'll touch on that in a moment here. So I'm just going to go over some of the settings that actually come with the Cosori pot. I mean, it's amazing the things that this thing can actually do. I mean, obviously you can do stews and meats and poultry and soup and beans and chili, and of course everybody knows about the rice feature. But what a lot of people probably don't know is that it can also make yogurt. Look at this. There's a yogurt setting here. So I'm kind of intrigued about that one, and I can't wait to try that one out. The other cool feature that I think is really cool is the saute button. I mean, the Instapot comes with that as well. But I think the great thing about this is I do a lot of cooking in my slow cooker, and a lot of the recipes require you to brown or pre-cook a lot of the meat, like especially like hamburger, before you put it in the slow cooker. So the fact that I can do everything in this one pot, in this one machine, you know, that's such a saving of time and mess and cleanup afterwards. I just think that's an amazing feature. You can also reheat things. You can also use it as a slow cooker, apparently. I haven't tried that out yet myself. It's amazing, all the things that you can do with this thing. And I think this little gadget would be an awesome addition to especially like a student that's like maybe living in a dorm room or something that doesn't have a stove. This thing would totally take the place of that. You can make whatever you want just by using the saute button. You can make, you know, spaghetti or whatever you want. You don't have to do the pressure cooker feature part of it if you didn't want to. So this is what the actual insert, the bowl, looks like. It's just stainless steel. It's really easy to keep clean. It's got the little markings on the side here, and you've got the maximum line. You should never have any liquid or anything in here above this line, or it won't pressurize properly. So this is what the outside of the lid looks like. This is your little valve here. This is the locked position, and when you turn it the other way, that's what lets and releases out the pressure and the steam. And then on the inside, the most important part is probably the sealer ring, because if you don't have this in place properly, your your cosori just won't come up to pressure, it won't heat up properly, and yeah, so this is always important to make sure you've got this in here properly and that everything is in place the way it's supposed to be. Again, the instructions are very clear on how to make sure all that's in place and also how to clean it and everything. And cleanup is actually a really, really easy thing as well, which I'm really impressed with. So before we get started with today's recipe, I just want to mention that there will be a link in the description box of how to contact Cosori if you would like to purchase one of these little pressure cookers for yourself. And there's also going to be a Facebook link there as well. Before we get started though, I just want to share a few of my experiences, I guess you would call it. Like I said, I have made a few dishes in a couple weeks that I've had it, and I have learned a few things along the way. A couple of tips that I'd like to share with you are get on Facebook and join a few groups that do specifically pressure cooking recipes. A lot of them are geared specifically towards the Instapot. However, as far as I can see, you can interchange those recipes very easily for the Cosori or the Instapot. Either or will work. Yeah, I've joined a few groups there. I've also subscribed to a couple of channels on YouTube that do like weekly and daily recipes. They're awesome. And that way, you know that the recipes have been tried. And I also like to see other people commenting or doing little reviews of their own on those recipes. It just, at least that way you know that the recipe you're following is hopefully going to be successful. So having said that, I do want to share with you a couple things that I have learned along the way. One, and none of these are any fault of the Cosori, it's been user error. So the first recipe I made was chicken pad thai. There wasn't enough liquid or sauce or whatever in there, so it didn't cook the noodles properly, and the chicken was really, really dry. You're supposed to be able to shred it, and it was just too dry. I should have known better. Most of the recipes call for at least 1.5 cups of some kind of liquid or broth or sauce or whatever. I think you need at least 1.5 cups to 2 cups in order for it, a recipe to really work properly in the pressure cooker. So it was okay, but it was not my favorite, and I wouldn't use that recipe again. However, the next thing that we tried was beef stroganoff. Now, it was amazing. The meat was so nice and tender. It had a really good flavor. It was really, really yummy, but I ran into one little hiccup. Even though I had read the instructions, and even though there are very clear warnings on the lid about do not immediately release pressure when cooking or heating up liquids, i.e. soups or porridge. It says basically anything that's liquidy that could really bubble up while it's cooking. You do not want to quick release the pressure, because if you do, you will have a huge mess on your hands. So let me tell you this little story. So I made my beef stroganoff. I was so excited. The buzzer went. That was time to release the pressure. That's what the recipe told me to do, a quick release. And I should have known better. I do now, but I didn't at the time. And I was so excited to see what this was going to look like. And we were all hungry. We wanted to get eating. So I released the pressure, and I literally had beef stroganoff spewed all over my kitchen. All over the clean dishes that I had just washed and were drip drying in the rack, all over my counter, all over the wall, all over the floor. Oh my gosh, it was an absolute disaster. But the stroganoff was amazing. So I will never ever do that now with a soup or a stew or anything like that. If in doubt, what I've kind of read is to just let your machine, after it's done its cycle and finished cooking, just let your machine just kind of naturally release its pressure, and for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then whatever little bit of pressure is left, what you can do is like a controlled release, just kind of carefully. There won't be very much pressure left, hopefully, by that time. And you can just very gently release the rest, and you never have to worry about it exploding all over your kitchen. Well, it doesn't explode, but it makes a really, really big mess, and I would not recommend it. Anyways, so let's get on with today's recipe. I'm really excited to share this with you. It is really super yummy, and yeah, here we go. So the recipe that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today is going to be New England Clam Chowder. I made this last week and it was so amazing. I got requested to make it again. So this is the recipe that I decided I wanted to share with you guys. It's fall here now, and I don't know about you guys, but I love to have soup for dinner during the fall and winter season. There's nothing better than it's just so hearty, and it just makes you feel so good. You know, you pair it with some crusty buns or bread or some biscuits, and you've got yourself a real hearty meal. So here's an overview of everything that you're going to need for this yummy clam chowder. So I will be inserting the recipe in the description box, so you guys don't have to worry too much about catching all the ingredients here, but you're going to need 3 russet potatoes peeled and diced up here. The recipe actually called for only 5 slices of bacon, but go big or go home. I used a half a package of bacon and I just cut that all up. I've got 3 stalks of celery all chopped up here as well. I have 2 small whole baby clams. You can either use 1 large can. I couldn't find the large cans in my store, so I just went with 2 smaller ones, and I drained the juice out of them, which is what you want to do. And basically, once you get all the juice out of there, you want to top up your container to 2 cups with just a little bit of water if you don't quite make it to 2 cups with the juice that comes out of the can. You're also going to need some cornstarch to thicken the soup afterwards. Also going to need some half and half. And I have a whole onion chopped up here, as well as I believe there's 3 cloves of garlic. Again, you can adjust that to as little or as much garlic as you like. And the last thing is just 3 tablespoons of butter. So here we go. So the first step in the recipe is to start sauteing the bacon. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn on my little saute function here. And it automatically sets the temperature, but I want it to be a little bit warmer. So I'm going to hit the pressure temperature button, and then I'm going to go up as high as it'll go, which I believe, yeah, there we go, 320. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit the start, and that's going to start warming up, and then we can start sauteing our bacon. So the Cosori's been heating up for a few minutes on the saute function, so I'm going to go ahead and put my chopped bacon right in here. So the recipe says to cook, stirring occasionally until the fat has rendered out of it, but it's not crispy. So I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of keep moving this around and let this cook up. And when I come back, I'll show you what the next step is. So my bacon's been simmering away here for a few minutes. It's not yet getting crispy, but the fat has definitely come out of most of the bacon there. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add the 3 tablespoons of butter. And I'm also going to add the onion. Oh, it smells so good in here. Nothing smells better than bacon cooking. Oh my gosh. And we're also going to put the celery in there as well. Stir that around really well. Now the recipe also calls for 2 sprigs of fresh thyme if you have, but if you don't, then you can put in 1/4 teaspoon of dried thyme, which is what I've got here. So I'm going to go ahead and put some of that in. And some salt and pepper to taste as well. Keep stirring this around. Go ahead and put some fresh ground pepper in here. And I'm not going to put too much salt because the bacon is probably going to be salty almost enough. So I'll just put just a little bit of salt. We can always add some more of that later if we need to. So basically you just want to get all the little brown bits from cooking the onion or cooking the bacon. You want to get those all scraped up. And just let this simmer away here a little bit. Just until the onion starts to kind of get translucent. So once it gets to that stage, I'll come back and show you what the next step is. So my onions are now translucent. The next step is to add in our garlic. So there goes our, I have 3 cloves here because I really like garlic. There we go. And we're going to let this cook for about a minute, not too long. We don't want the garlic to get overcooked here. And then the last step is just going to be, once this garlic is cooked, we're going to put in our clam juice and the potatoes. And this recipe is really starting to come together. So in goes our clam juice. We've got 2 cups of liquid there. And if there's anything kind of left on the bottom of the pot, you want to make sure you get that kind of scraped. That's why it's nice to use a nice flat bottom spoon of some sort. And of course you don't want anything that's going to scratch your pot, so a wooden or a plastic mixing spatula kind of thing is going to be probably your best bet. Okay. Now the last thing I got to do is I'm just going to put in my potatoes. Carefully add these so they don't splash everywhere. There we go. So the next step is just to set the Cosori, so it's going to pressure cook. So I'm going to show you what settings you're going to put it on and for how long here in just a sec. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just put my lid into place here. And you know it's locked and ready to go when you hear that little buzzer. And I made sure that the sealing ring and everything was on there perfectly before I got started. So I've already stopped the saute function. So if you don't hit the stop and cancel button, it'll just keep going. So I've already hit that, so it says off. So this soup needs to cook on manual, and you want it on the highest pressure. So I'm going to hit the pressure button until I get all the way to the highest pressure. Here we go, all my lights are on. And it only needs 4 minutes of cooking time, so I'm going to hit the time cook button, and of course it's showing 30 here right now, so I want to adjust this right down to 4 minutes. Oh, it goes fast. There we go. 4 minutes, and then I'm going to also make sure that my little dial here is in the locked position, which it is, and I should be good to go. So it's on high, it's on manual, and it's on for 4 minutes. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and hit the start button. So it's going to start building up pressure and warming up, and in a few minutes this will be done, and then I'll show you how we're going to finish this. So our clam chowder is almost done. I just wanted to show you. The Cosori came up to pressure, and I knew that it had done that because this little pressure valve kind of popped up, and that way I know that it's done its thing. It's come up to pressure and got to the right temperature and everything. And as soon as that happened, it started counting down from 4 minutes. It let me know that it was starting to do that. It gives you a little beep. And now I'm just patiently waiting for this to finish cooking, because what I'm going to do as soon as it's done, I'm actually going to unplug my Cosori. I've also seen where you could probably just leave it plugged in and it will just automatically start counting up for you so that you know that how many minutes it's been kind of depressurizing on its own by itself. But I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to unplug it, and I'm going to just set my timer on my microwave for about 10 to 15 minutes because I want this to just kind of, oh, there we go, right on cue. So yeah, I'm going to unplug my machine here, and I'm going to set my timer, and I'm just going to let this sit because I don't want to release the pressure just yet because I don't want a big mess to clean up. And I'm going to let my Cosori just depressurize a little bit on its own for about 10 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and when I come back, I'll show you the next step. So about 15 minutes has now gone past since the Cosori let me know that it was finished pressure cooking. And I just want to show you guys, I haven't opened the valve or anything yet, and that little pin has already gone down, telling me that the pressure should be all out of my pressure cooker here. So I am going to just gently open this little release valve because I want to make sure before I try to take the lid off that all the pressure is out of here. So I'm just going to go ahead and carefully, look at that, there's no steam escaping at all. So I know that I'm safe to open up the lid, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And look at that. Oh my gosh. That looks so yummy. I wish you guys could smell how good it smells in here right now. Oh my goodness. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take my potato masher, and I'm just going to just mash up some of these potatoes. And they are definitely cooked and done because this is mashing up really easily. So I'm just going to go ahead and just finish mashing this all up, and then I will show you the last couple steps here. So you can see how thick the soup got just by mashing up my potatoes. So you may or may not need to thicken this with cornstarch. It totally depends on what consistency you prefer. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to add in our canned clams. Add those right in there. We're going to add the 1 1/3 cup of half and half. Now, when I made this last week, I did thicken it a little bit. Yeah, it is a little bit more liquidy than I would like it. So I am going to go ahead and just put in a little bit of cornstarch. So what I've done is I've got about 3 tablespoons of cornstarch and 3 tablespoons of cold water, and I made kind of a slurry paste out of here. And I'm just gonna dump that right in and let that kind of heat up, and it will thicken as it heats. And then we're gonna have some really yummy clam chowder. Oh my gosh. So there you have it, everybody. I like to serve this with just a little bit of green onions on top, right on the bowl. And yeah, it is so yummy. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Cosori for sending me this awesome little pressure cooker. I can see myself having a lot of fun trying out some new recipes. And as I find ones that I really like, I will make sure I share them with you guys as well. So if you were anything like me and was sitting on the fence about whether or not you wanted to buy yourself one of these little pressure cookers, I would highly recommend it. It is so much fun and I'm really enjoying it. So, you know, bite the bullet and get yourself one. They really are amazing little addition to your kitchen appliance repertoire for sure. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. And until next time, happy cooking, everybody. Bye for now.